So, hi, James. Thanks ever so much for taking the time to join us on the Career Zone today. It's great to have you with us. We've got
Thank you.
no worries at all. We've got lots of learners and kind of career changers who are kind of thinking about joining academies and stuff on our feature company section on our Career Zone. Obviously, St James's Place is one of those companies, and you've been through that academy process with them. So it's great to speak to you today. It'll be great to tell those learners, exactly what your experience is, if they're thinking of applying for the same thing. So yeah, tell us about your journey into financial services. What kind of got you interested in that field?
Great, thank you. What got me involved initially is I started off in banking when I was 18.
Right.
My dad worked in banking for a long time. I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I left college and almost kind of fell into the banking route. I was there for about 5 years and I took a particular interest in the financial advisors that worked there as well.
Right.
I quite like to try and join in on the conversations. I used to pass the leads across to them, and just have a general chat about how they can help. And I found it quite interesting, the markets, investing the money, and what they could do to help clients kind of offer the normal savings track.
Sure.
So that's kind of where the journey started.
Brilliant.
Was showing an interest in that and going from there.
Brilliant. Yeah. I think it was same with me as well. I kind of fell into financial services from a completely different career field. And I do hear that all the time from other people. It's something that people just kind of fall into without much planning.
They do, that's it indeed. But it's a good career path as well. There's lots that you can do. I think particularly with banking, banking's quite a hard career to progress in. Particularly I live in Devon,
Okay.
it's very much a city job if you want to progress.
Sure.
Which is why really the financial advice route made sense. I found it really interesting. I thought I can study to do this, and I
Yeah.
can make a difference across Devon and Cornwall.
Yeah. Thanks very much. And how did you kind of approach your studies for the diploma? How did you start off as a self-funded student, for example?
I did, yes. So I was
Right.
working for another organisation full time. So what I was doing was paying for my exams and kind of trying to do those in the evening.
Sure.
So quite a challenge.
Yeah.
I was using mainly the CII books and guides,
Okay.
which was quite tricky.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of buying question packs and those sorts of things. But what they don't tell you is kind of what the answer is or where you may have gone wrong.
Right. Yeah.
So that's something that I struggled with a little bit. So I was constantly looking for other resources that are out there as well to try and help me along.
Sure.
But yeah, that's how I got started.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, was it out of the units? Because you've done RO1 to RO6 for the CIA diploma, as many people watching this will be doing as well, including myself. Um, were there any particular units that you struggled with, or you found really interesting that you hadn't sort of seen before?
Yeah, I think all of the units are quite interesting themselves.
Yeah.
Maybe not RO1 is the rules and the regulations,
We hear
but
that quite a bit. Yeah.
but once you've got that out of the way, it does become quite interesting in terms of different areas. And I was working in a support team,
Right.
so for me, it kind of helped enhance my skills. I understood a little bit more about the conversations that were going on with clients,
Yeah.
and potentially how I could help them as well. So that was good. But the one that I struggled with in particular was RO3.
Right. Yeah.
And I've got a few colleagues or people that I used to work with that have gone through these exams, and I haven't met one yet that said, I've gone through a clean sweep of all six exams and found them straightforward. They are tough. So I guess
Yeah.
the message there is don't beat yourself up as well
No,
if
definitely.
if you struggle. RO3 I had to do 3 times. So
Really? Okay. Wow.
it took quite a bit of effort. I just couldn't get my head around it, and I struggled kind of for support around me.
Right.
And that's when I was just using CII material.
Okay.
So I was looking for other resources, and the BTS guides were really helpful, as well as like the mock papers, because
Yeah.
the main benefit for me is it told me where I was going wrong and what I
Yeah.
could do to try and achieve that. But
Yeah.
also, it was like they were worded the same way as the exams. So
Right. Okay.
that
Yeah.
did that helped out a lot more than kind of the standard CII guides, and helped me get through that. But like I said, they are tricky. They're not easy. I had a client once said to me, "They're level 4 exams. I want to speak to a chartered advisor because they're easy and I could do them,"
Right.
um, which is a bit rude, a bit offensive.
Yeah, and not the
So I
case at all.
tried to respond to that politely, but yeah, that's what I mean. They are tricky. It's just
Definitely.
taking time to go through them, and grab as much support as you can.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, each unit, I agree with you. Each unit is tough, and there's a lot to each unit. When you come to sit that exam, you've done an awful lot of work to get up to that exam, and yeah, to achieve a pass is just it's a really good achievement and a relief as well. And then you kind of the nice thing is you can kind of progress through the RO units at your own pace, which is really, really good, and you're definitely needed. So yeah, no, thanks for that. A lot of our learners will be watching this and kind of struggling as well. So I'm sure that'll be quite inspirational for
I
them.
think I think the other thing with that as well is that everybody learns in different ways.
Yeah,
And for me, the just reading through CII guides, some people might be great with that, but I'm quite visual and I struggle to try and take that in. So I think, like, I used e-learning.
right.
It was
Yeah,
available on the portal. Like digital exams, you could even have an app as well, so you could do
sure.
kind of the question packs on there. It was a lot more visual, and I just found it a little bit easier to do in kind of snapshots rather than staring at a guide for a few hours as well,
Yeah,
and trying to work that out.
yeah. That's the thing, isn't it? Sometimes the kind of smaller sections, smaller chunks of learning is actually more beneficial. I get to a stage sometimes where I read the same paragraph over again and it just won't go in. And that's the point, just to say, right, you know what, we'll call it an evening and do something else. But yeah, you are sort of learning as you go. But
Mm.
no, that's fantastic. So at the moment, then now you working at St James's Place partner practice. You've completed the diploma. You've gone through the St James's Place Academy. What kind of, on a day-to-day basis, what's the biggest buzz in your current role?
Yeah. So the biggest buzz, I think, in the role itself is that no client's the same. I mean, each day is different. In my role as a client relationship advisor, I look after an existing set of clients. So, I can be dealing with family members that are maybe thinking about retiring
Sure.
and they're really worried about that and what that looks like.
Yeah.
It might be that actually they just want to do a little bit more than what they're getting from the bank.
Mm,
Um, or it might be, in some cases, I've had some really uncomfortable conversations with clients where they're not particularly very well,
okay.
and it's all about them trying to pass funds on to their family. But in each different area, doesn't matter how young or old your client is, you'll find that there's always value that you can add to them. And
Yeah.
it's just taking a time to kind of look at a plan, look at everything that's in front of you, and how can you actually help that person. And I think when you walk away from a meeting and you know that you've really added value, you've really helped somebody, that makes the job so worthwhile.
Yeah, brilliant. No, that sounds really, really good. Yes, what it's all about, isn't it? I think from my kind of studies, and it's about helping people and doing the right thing for them, and setting them up for a good kind of financial future. And did you, obviously working at a partner practice of St James's Place, did you look at different firms before you decided to join that one? How did you kind of come to work there?
Yeah, so I had a bit of a stint where I was working for a small IFA as a
Right,
trainee advisor, but I didn't really get the support that I needed at that point in time. So we kind of parted ways, and I
sure.
was looking for an opportunity to try and develop. I think progressing from a support team as well to advising is a big jump. I think people always tell you it's a big jump, but until you're actually there and in it, you don't realize that it's as big of a jump as it is.
Right, yeah,
Um, but I did look at different providers. So I had chats with the other kind of big names out there, like
sure.
Quilters, those sorts of people too, your True Potential. And then I had conversations with other kind of independent financial advice firms as well that were kind of like small 1, 2 man bands
Right,
in the area. But the biggest thing that brought me to St James's Place was the academy in itself, and
right.
the fact that I felt that actually that was the one thing that I was missing. With the reason that I needed a bit more support is I needed kind of phasing into the role a little bit. It gave me a 12-week program to look at, actually, these are the skills, this is what you're going to need. Here's other people that are in a like mind, they're in the same sort of situation as you. You meet people from all backgrounds, and that really helps. Um, but that was kind of the difference between going for a smaller firm and going to St. James's Place, was you've got that there.
Yeah.
And I think for myself now too, the most value that I'm getting out of the academy is definitely now, because I've got an academy support manager, I've got an academy development manager. One helps with systems and processes, which
Right.
it's in financial advice, administration's a massive part of it and can be quite
Yeah.
tricky.
Yeah.
So that's great. And then my academy development manager helps me from an advice point of view. So it's a sounding board if I'm not sure what to do with a client, or just talk through some ideas. So that's really helpful. So to kind of go back to the initial question, really, the reason it was St. James's Place was it was the full package, really. It was that 12 weeks to kind of get a solid foundation, get the knowledge behind you.
Sure.
And then, but more for me, it was about, well, this is the support that we're going to give you moving forwards as you start to advise, and we'll help you. The systems are really handy compared to kind of what I've experienced elsewhere. There's lots of ways. It's quite quick to process solutions. There's a lot of focus in my practice in particular at the minute around AI,
Right. Okay. Yeah.
and trying to use technology. So it's most of it comes down to the fact find and personalizing that, and then the AI helps you to write a report
Sure.
that puts together a nice personalized plan for a client. It's things like that that St. James's Place and my practice Chartered Edge are getting involved in,
Yeah.
which is great. That helps me to do exactly the reason I come into the profession, is I want to sit in front of as many people as I can and try and help them.
Yeah.
So I think kind of being on the forefront of technology is really important, and that's great.
Yeah. Interesting, really, isn't it? Because there's a lot of news about AI at the moment and how helpful it can be in various industries. And we've kind of I've certainly had that conversation as well with people before. It's like people are worried about AI, but as you say, it can help you, and then allow you to have that time, more time in front of actual clients, giving actual advice. So,
Yeah, that's it. In another company that I work for, they always called it golden time for advisors,
oh right, yeah, oh that's
um,
good.
which is a good way of putting it, really,
Yeah,
because everything that we do, even in the practice I'm in now, is all about how do we save time for the advisors. So, that their focus is on me sitting in front of as many people as I can as well, and that's a great thing to be part of.
and then with the academy itself, did you, because they've got different terms, so did you have your full diploma, James, before you joined the academy?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I had my full diploma that I'd done
right.
separately.
Okay, yeah,
So I came in on term two of the academy.
right.
So term two was essentially 12 weeks. I think they've just shortened it. I think it's 9 weeks now.
Okay, right.
Um, but it was 12 weeks, and it was a mixture of learning. So it was like some online. In fact, most of it was online.
Okay, yeah,
And then about once a month, you'd go down to, in my case, Bristol for 3 days. And you get to just kind of meet your colleagues that are going through the same program.
okay,
And
yeah,
each bit talks through each area. So it talks through kind of like the administration, it talks through each area of financial planning, kind of what you're licensed to do. And within St. James's Place, you have to achieve accreditations as well as your diploma.
right, yeah,
And those accreditations are quite good, because if you've done your exams a little while ago, or you just need a refresher, then that's quite handy, because you look through the guide, that's all part of the academy. You then go through your accreditations, and it kind of just helps you to feel a little bit more confident that you've got the foundations behind you for when you go live.
I mean, how did you find that term two, and that kind of studying and training? How did you find that compared to actually studying for the exams, the workload and things? Was it quite a different pace?
Yeah, I don't know. I found it quite strange to start with, to be honest, because like I said, I did my exams, kind of everything was in the evening. I got
Right.
married, I had a kid, and I bought a house at the same time. So it was
Busy then,
very
yeah.
used to, yeah. So it was very used to kind of come home from work, try and get into that, and
Yeah.
go. But so to kind of have 12 weeks where there was no work, and you were kind of full time in an academy with e-learning, live kind of like seminars, that sort of stuff
Yeah.
that were going on. It was quite interesting, and then the role plays as well.
Oh, right. Yep.
Um, It picks up quite fast. I think the first couple of weeks are, kind of just phasing you in a little bit so you get an understanding of what's going on.
Sure.
My biggest advice there is that if you do that, I would try and do your accreditations really early in those first few weeks before it really starts to pick up.
Okay. Yeah.
Because you have a deadline anyway. It was 5 weeks, I think it was end of week 5 to do them.
Right.
But
Okay.
you want to get those out of the way, and then you're not so stressed. You can focus on the role plays, the learning, getting everything set for your final assessment at the end of the academy as well.
So your days in Bristol then, was it mostly remote learning that you were doing with the academy apart from your days in Bristol? How did that kind of work?
Yeah, it was remote, so most of it was
Right.
on Zoom.
Okay. Yeah.
So you'd have normally like a few different sessions throughout the day, and then it would be topped up with like e-learning around that.
Okay. Yeah.
So that was quite helpful. You do the e-learning, and then you go into the session, and you would answer different scenarios or questions, and kind of work together as a team as well. So we do regular like breakout rooms too, so we could talk
Cool.
through different areas and
Yeah.
kind of get to know everybody as well. Because that's
Brilliant.
one of the biggest advantages of being on an academy is that you build a network around you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and you might not necessarily get that elsewhere, but you've got a list of people that you know that you could go to that are all in a similar boat, and you can try and help each other, particularly through the first 6 months, a year,
Yeah.
and then onwards as well.
Yeah, it's great to have that collaboration, isn't it? Especially if you're remote a lot of the time, because you kind of feel alone sometimes, don't you? So it's great to kind of come together and, you know, realize you're all in the same boat and having the same, I say problems, having the same challenges, and achieving the same stuff, which is good. So uh, level 4 qualified now, having completed the academy, which is fantastic. One of the questions I wanted to ask, from your recent experience with clients, is there a particular theme at the moment, a current trend in what customers are wanting to have advice on, given the sort of recent budget changes we've had in the UK?
Yeah, so I think the budget brought conversations along quite a lot along the lines of inheritance tax.
Right.
So that's an area that we have conversations around. You need a separate license at St James's Place to do that. I'm working to attain that at the moment, so
Okay.
I'm
Right. Yeah.
currently taking another advisor out with me, but not shying away from those conversations. Really getting stuck in
Sure. Yeah.
to try and help and explain to clients. So I don't think many clients really thought about inheritance tax and what that would look like
Yeah.
until it was suddenly like, your pension's going to become part of your estate. And, there's a lot of clients that are worried about that, don't really understand what that looks like.
Sure.
Um, and then along the similar lines is pensions,
Right.
because a lot of clients now are thinking, well, how does this impact me? I wanted to retire in 2 years' time. What does that look like for me? Can I afford to do it? How do I pass it on to my family? What are my options? So, as an existing client advisor, those are the two main areas that are kind of cropping up in conversation, is to reassure people, because most people still won't be impacted by inheritance tax. But it's just kind of reinforcing the knowledge around that.
Yeah.
But certainly around pensions, that's where I can add the value, because we can look at what your provision is, put together a plan, and make sure that you're comfortable in retirement, which is important.
Brilliant. Excellent. Yeah. And it's great that you, like you say, you need that additional accreditation for inheritance tax. But it's great that even before you've got that, you can get involved in the conversations with it, around that. And then you can have that learning and development as you kind of do your exam there, which is a real bonus by the sounds of it.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you're able to have an initial conversation, or try and kind of provoke the conversation
Mm,
with a client, because obviously you've got your diploma and you've got your exams. It's when it comes to providing full advice, which is normally a second meeting anyway,
yeah.
um, is when I make use of my team. I'm lucky that I've got a lot of experience in our team, so I've got advisors that I can pull on in different areas to help me out around inheritance tax and even long-term care planning, that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
you kind of start to build a knowledge of everything that goes on around you. And my focus at the moment is getting competent advisor status. I'm nearly
Right.
there.
Okay. Cool.
Um, so once I've got that, then it'll be the long-term care, the inheritance tax trust planning licenses, so that I can go and do those on my own. But at the minute, as a new advisor, I take all the help that's there. I
Yeah,
like to take the colleagues out with me, providing they've got the time and capacity, and just try and absorb as much as I can there.
sure. Yeah, and as you said earlier, a company as big as SJP, you've got that pool of experience to kind of call on, which is great. So it must be quite reassuring. Why would you, from your experience, why would you say attending an academy is necessary to become a financial advisor, in addition to actually earning a diploma? What's kind of the advantages of going through the academy afterwards?
I think it's just it's taking advantage of the support that's there. I think, um, like I said, for myself anyway, from going from a support team and then going into financial advisor, and we had quite a few people on the academy who had done a complete career change and didn't kind of have that background.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But it's a big jump. So you've got that support there for 12 weeks or 9 weeks now, where it's a little bit more condensed. But you have that, yeah, you have that network around you. And then really it's, as you progress through terms, so I'm on term 3 now, you get a lot more support there. So I've got my advisor, development manager. He comes out with me to meetings, as well as helping me get through competent advisor status.
Brilliant.
So you just feel like you're not on your own, in a job that can be quite tricky. There's lots to learn. So I think it's great that the academy's there. You've got the help, you've got the network, and it can only really help you get onto a good start, really.
So, in your experience, James, having gone through the process, um, is there sort of what is your most valuable takeaway from the St James's Place Academy in your view?
So I've got two really. I think during the first 12 weeks, which was my term 2, that's the full-time study really. The role plays were really beneficial.
Okay. Yeah.
You have to go through your assessment at the end. You get a good couple of practice runs in there beforehand, but just practicing with colleagues, and then when you're being assessed, you've got kind of like mock runs before you do it. You get feedback, take it on board. Just look at ways you can do things differently. Those that are observing you have normally been advisors themselves before, so
Sure. Yeah.
got that experience to lean on. And then I think kind of on the academy, I'm now in term 3 or coming towards the end of that.
Right.
So that's where the support doesn't really stop. So although term 2 is your main term in terms of before you can actually start advising, you still get ongoing support. So term 3 for me has been, I'm kind of like one day every 3 weeks in Bristol, where we talk through particular areas. So it could be building business, networking, to ongoing advice and looking after clients. It just gives you an opportunity as well during the first few months to sit down with colleagues that are at the same sort of point as you,
Yeah.
and talk through some of the challenges that you've had, some of the things that have gone really well, try and help each other out.
Sure.
And then you've got your academy, you've got your advisor manager, you've got the support manager that are there to help you as well. So it's that ongoing support which is really useful.
So you just mentioned there you're in term 3 now. So to give people an idea, from my research, term 1 is gaining a diploma.
Yeah,
And then term 2 is, as you say, it's the main term for us. Once you've done the diploma, that's the start of the actual training. And then you're in term 3, so you're
yeah,
preparing now for CAS, for competent advisor status.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, so that's what term 3 is all about.
Right.
It's about trying to get you towards that. So it's mainly field based, where your
Okay.
the academy development manager is there with you. So he'll observe you, so or she. So Adam observes me in different areas, where we look at basically all different areas of financial planning, and he signs me off in those areas. It then looks at business assurance, making sure that everything that you do is compliant,
Right.
and you can take that with you as well. So that's that's really useful. And then you have like your one day a week every 3 weeks, roughly, which
Sure.
is useful, where it just focuses on particular types of planning. It is more focused on building a business or onboarding clients. Um, and then it focuses on each meeting step. So from your first meeting to now you've present well, So either presentation, or it might be that actually you're not ready to present and we might need to put another kind of strategy meeting in the middle.
Right. Okay.
And that was quite interesting because we talked through, a client's given you all this information, you go and take it away, you do your strategy meeting with them and talk through, okay, so these are your options. This is what we could do based on the advice that we'd provide to you. And then your third meeting would be, okay, we've agreed it, and then we're going to go and present it from there. So it's quite useful to kind of break it down like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's mainly what term 3 is. It's trying to get competent advisor status.
Yeah.
And then the next one's term 4, which is mainly you've got optional courses that you can opt into, which are mainly virtual, I believe, which is there to enhance your skills. So some of the things that we were talking about earlier with additional licenses.
Yeah.
So it's designed once you've got competent advisor status and you want to think about trust planning or long-term care. It focuses on those areas, so you can opt into them and talk through some cases, or just kind of improve your knowledge in those areas. And then the
Sure.
rest is just kind of being monitored by the advice team, and making sure that everything you do is compliant, and you've got the support you need. It's a lot more field orientated then, so it'll
Right.
be kind of out and about with clients, and there's lots of people you can ask for help. You can ask them to come out with you to meetings as well if you feel it'd be beneficial. Just there really to try and help enhance your skills, and particularly in that first year where it can be quite tricky, lots to learn, lots to get involved in, and yeah, it's just a good support network.
If people are watching this, James, and they're thinking of applying to the SJP Academy, um, having gone through the process yourself, have you got any specific application tips or advice that you can give them?
Yeah, so the process itself is quite thorough, which I think is a good thing because it helps to kind of put the plans in place and to kind of get you thinking about what life would be like as an advisor. How do you get off to a fast start? What does that look like too? One of the main things that you'll do is a business development plan. And that business development plan is basically looking at your network to help you get off to that fast start.
Right.
So family, friends, who are you going to contact initially to try and onboard as a client? But who can you also use to try and make your life a little bit easier when you're going through competent advisor status? So you know that you're going to need to be assessing, lots of different areas, retirement, savings, and various others as well. So it does make it easier if you've got friends or family that you feel comfortable with, that you can approach it and use those as your cases to try and help you get that started and sorted.
Brilliant.
The other thing that I would say as well is that remember that you're selling a plan rather than a product.
Right.
And that's one of the key parts of financial advice. They're focused very much from St. James's Place's point of view, and rightly so, is based on building a plan for a client.
Sure.
We're not there to sell a specific product. We
No.
focus on looking holistically at that client. So it may be they've come into you and they've said, I've got a pension need, please have a look. But what we're going to do is we're going to look holistically at everything and try and help them build a plan and look at other areas that they might not have thought about before. So
Sure.
that's the kind of mindset and what I would think about going into the application process.
Brilliant. Yeah. I guess some customers either don't know very much at all or have a specific thing they want to ask about. But like you say, your job is to look at the whole picture, isn't it? And to advise them on stuff they might not have thought about or might be reluctant to look at.
Yeah, that's it. And it's positioning it to the client initially in the meeting. So
Sure.
those are tips and stuff that the academy will help you with as you go through. But it's positioning a lot of the documentation, positioning the fact that you're going to do a holistic fact find on them, that you're going to do a life plan, you're going to look at all different various areas. Um, it's not pushy. It's a case of, look, we're going to point these areas out. If there's areas that we think that maybe you could do a bit of advice on, we'll bring them up. If they're not a
Sure.
priority to you, that's absolutely fine. But we can help get a clear picture and build a plan for you, and that's what it's all
Absolutely.
about.
What could you give us an idea of sort of a day in your life, like an average day, or kind of what you do now that you've gone through the academy? I'm sure days are probably quite different, but what's like an average day in your life as an advisor with SJP?
Yeah, so mine is mainly centered around, as I kind of said earlier, about looking after existing clients. So I have quite a few reviews. So most days I'll have at least kind of normally two reviews, sometimes a little bit more.
Sure.
So it'll be a case of preparing for them, and then kind of coming out of that as well and looking at, okay, well, are we on track with the plan that we set out initially? To then putting together the CFR, which is the fact find.
Right.
Um, to then looking at, okay, well, a client wants to add in additional money, or an area that has been quite challenging, I think, as an industry, we're getting used to regulatory changes there, but is around decumulation and what that
Right.
looks like. That's a particularly complex area, so there's quite a lot that, an in-depth conversation that needs to go on there. So those are the main things. So normally it's a review, but regularly I'll get involved with meetings with pension cases where they're looking to take money, look at various options for income. So that's kind of what a typical day looks like, really, is that, and then just the servicing piece on top. I'm lucky that I've got a good kind of back office team behind me as well. So
Brilliant.
they're there to help and try and take as much of that away from me as they can. Um, but really, it's all about, for me, it's about trying to build a relationship with these clients. It is quite tricky coming into a role where, in my case, for a lot of my clients, they had the same advisor for 25 plus years, and then he retired.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So they see a new face that's coming in, that's come out of the academy and going to be looking after them as well. So it's first things first. It's all about trying to build that relationship,
Yeah.
rather than focusing on anything else. The first thing is, making sure that they understand you're there to help them, that you're going to help them build a plan, you're going to make them feel comfortable, um, and it will come from there. And I think that will develop for me next year. I think this year is very much about me building relationships with these clients, making sure that they're happy with their plan, that they stay on track with that, and that they're happy with us.
Yeah.
I think next year, hopefully they'll trust me a little bit more around things like passing on referrals, so I can generate more business opportunities from that, or looking at investing more money themselves.
Sure.
But I think kind of tunnel vision as an existing client advisor that's coming in really is sit in front of as many of them as I can, build a relationship, make sure they're happy, and hopefully the rest should kind of find and follow that as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Brilliant. And obviously, you mentioned about sitting in front of clients. Are you do you mostly work from home? Do you go into an office? Do you do site visits with clients? How does that kind of work?
It's a mixture of
Right.
both. So I mean, what we tend to do is we offer the virtual route,
Right.
and that is from a review point of view. But I mean, we'll do whatever the client wants to do, essentially. So we'll offer the virtual route via Zoom, and we can share our screen with them. Um, or quite often it'll be going out to clients' houses. I do have some that like to come into the office, but
Right.
mainly it will be either Zoom, or I'll go out and about and meet clients, which is where the organizational piece comes in there then, because I know that I've got a lot of clients that I need to see and review.
Yeah.
So kind of getting the geographical location set, making sure that if I'm in that area, I'm making the most of my time. So having two or three reviews in, Torquay painting, for
Brilliant idea.
example,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, making best use of that time. But you learn and you adapt that as you go through, because certainly over the last few months, I now have a greater understanding of how long things take to do.
Right.
Um, and that means that I can block that time out of my diary. So I'm not stressing too much. I've got the time to focus after these reviews and, write them up, make sure that actually, is there anything that I've missed that I could go back to them with? Or, have I provided the best service and the best advice that I can to a client? So it's just the organizational piece is a massive part of it. It's managing your diary, making sure you block out enough time as well, and yeah, and that makes it a lot easier.
Brilliant. Yeah. As you say, it's getting comfortable with the role, isn't it? You know how long things will take, and if you get a minor setback, you
Yeah.
know that you've had that before, and it's not really a problem. So yeah, I kind of get where you're coming from. Do you have a date in mind, James, when you're going to officially, I guess, graduate from the SJP Academy, when they'll kind of sign you off? Would that be CAS? Would that be shortly after? How does that kind of work? The kind of last stages of it?
So the sign off will be CAS.
Right.
So I know that I'm pretty close to being there now. I think
Okay.
the focus is on we need to you get most of your case, or pretty much 100% of your cases are checked via business assurance. And you have to get a nice spread of cases that are compliant across those areas. So I think you
Sure.
just need to get a few more of those that are checked and cleared in different areas and be ready to go. So hopefully within the next month or two, competent advisor status will be done, and
Brilliant.
then I can turn my focus to long-term care, which is what I want to do next. So
Right.
I
Okay.
need to do the long-term care exam outside of the group,
Right.
and then do the internal accreditations to do that. Um, but that would be quite useful because we have a massive focus on that here. A lot of the clients that I see, um, at different ages, or it might be, if they receive anything like attendance allowance, PIP, uh, those sorts of areas, sometimes they require a little bit of additional support. And I
Right.
want to make sure that I'm fully kind of clued up, have all the knowledge, and can provide the best support to them. So
Yeah.
that's what's on my agenda next, really.
So it's kind of a, I guess, a medium term view that you've got there, which is good to have a plan. And yeah, long term care. I imagine with an aging population, that's only going to get more important, isn't it, as we go along there? But I mean, apart from that, have you got anything that you're looking forward to in your career? Have you got any sort of long term plans? What are you kind of looking forward to in the
I
future?
mean, from an academic point of view, the long-term care, get that done. The trust planning,
Right.
I want to get the accreditations done internally to kind of get that set and ready to go.
Sure.
Then I'm going to turn my focus to chartered.
Okay.
So I want to go and do the exams for that. But my focus initially is I wanted really to get a year's experience behind me as an advisor because there is so much to learn.
Sure.
So I don't want to put myself under pressure with the chartered exams just yet. So potentially this time next year, I want to try and start those and get going.
Brilliant.
Um, from an advice point of view, I'm quite, I work in a good practice where we've got a pyramid in terms that you can work your way up.
Right.
So the next step for me would be almost like an experienced client advisor. And then we have the routes of kind of going down the option of potentially more new business, and retaining some clients, but focusing more on that and almost becoming like a hunter, networking more, trying to get
Right.
involved in how you can speak to clients. So there's the option of that. There's the option of going self-employed within the practice.
Right.
So I can have a look at that as well, and look to do that and have the flexibility around family.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's the option potentially to work myself into being a director in the company in the future as well. So there's a really good career path here. So
Yeah.
I'm keen to kind of get the next 12, 18 months behind me. Like I say, try and build as much knowledge as I can, and yeah, and go from there. Really try and progress, and hopefully support somebody else that's coming through the academy and comes into practice.
Brilliant. Now that'd be great, wouldn't it, to sort of give back a bit from what you've had, and you've had that
Yeah,
experience as well, which is fantastic. So yeah, yeah, I agree with you. Actually, I think I'd be the same. You want a gap between diploma and advanced diploma, get some work experience done, and get CPD and things, and then yeah, be ready to then tackle your advanced exams. That's absolutely brilliant. So, and you're right. You've got different career paths there potentially at your disposal, depending on what you'd like to do, going forward. So, yeah, that sounds like a really different people will suit different pathways that you've just sort of mentioned there. Well, thanks ever so much, James, for your time today. Obviously, you're really really busy, so we do appreciate you coming in and speaking to us. And it would be a great help, I think, for our learners, people who are going through diploma units at the moment, whether that's they're fully completed or they're on their way, and people looking at our future companies who are thinking of joining an academy. So that'd be super helpful for them. And yeah, thanks ever so much for your time.
okay. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And yeah, if anybody wants to reach out, I'm more than happy to try and help.
Brilliant. Thanks, James. That's
Thank
great.
you.
Thanks ever so much.